Thank you, Marianne, and also for inviting me today. It's nice that you make a reference about that other research because that was about like meaning making as a process of orientation, and that relates in some ways to the PhD that I started because it's about swarming, which is a way of orienting together. So this is the last session of the symposium. I hope you still have a bit of energy for this last talk. I am Sylvie de Kubber, and I recently started a collaborative PhD on swarming in psychiatry. And I'm really happy to share about this project because it's really dear to me. And I just had the feeling like if anybody needs like a moment to, if you want to check in with yourself for a moment, how you're sitting, or maybe you want to stand up or shake a bit, or I see somebody, body's moving, then it's possible just to get a bit of energy for the last part. Some movement. That's swarm. This is a bit the structure of my talk. I will tell something about the swarm. I will tell about what swarming in psychiatry is, some key concepts of the research, and the methods, and lastly, the discussion. I moved to Rotterdam in 2021, and that was just before the COVID pandemic started. So the city closed down, and I didn't have any friends there yet. And we started to experiment with this group of people to move on the streets. It was a group choreography. It was a new form of protest, a new form of clubbing as well. And I never went to church in my life, but these experiences were very strong when it came to spirituality and community with this group. The swarming choreography is based on the wondrous patterns of birds in the sky, and they are made by the specific principles that each participant follows. And out of our experimentation on the streets during COVID, we came to a design set with core principles. I'm using this, but not that one. Sorry, I'm a bit behind. So this was when I was talking about Rotterdam. We had this picture, and here you see some people swarming in the streets, discovering this new form of movement together. And now I started to talk about swarming. Sorry. So in a swarm, the collective decides when and where they move together. And out of this swarming together in the streets, we had these 3 design principles: make space, stick together, and negotiate where you will go as you move along. In the meantime, I was working in the psychiatric clinic in Portugal, in the south of Rotterdam. And what I saw there was a lot of communal spaces. The church, the cinema, the farm, the snack bar, and the museum were all cut back over time. And there was a lack of opportunities to have joy, and an increase in isolation, medicalization, and the treatments are based on a dichotomy of mental and physical health. So I started to fantasize about inviting the swarm to the clinic. And in 2023, we started to swarm in the clinic together with the clients and the employees. So when we do a swarm in the clinic, we have several elements. The first thing is that it's introduced by me as a humanistic chaplain to celebrate the seasons. So I always do an opening speech with the significance of the moment in which I invite the people to celebrate the nature that's changing. And the clients and employees, they join together. Most of the time we are with 10 or 30 people. And each participant receives a specific portable speaker. We have 100 of these. People can carry it on their body, and the DJ makes live a soundscape that is fitting with the environment, with the vibe of the group. And yeah, we engage in an interaction with the nature, but also because we move a bit out of the terrain, we also engage with people in the village, or the kindergarten is always a nice place to pass by because all the kids come to join dancing. And in the end, we have a closing circle in which we ask the participants to share in one word how they feel. And I have some first outcomes of this circle, just some words that came out when people were joining. What I really like is, for example, they say, oh, I feel like I'm in a new world. I feel like I'm able to do anything. I feel like doors are opening, but you also see uncomfortable. So many kind of different things. And one of the things that people always ask is, why don't we do this every week? Why don't we do this every day? But also, I have happiness inside of me. I forgot that the swarming brought it out. And I realized I have fun. I can have fun without the drugs. Which is, yeah, most of the clients I work with are from the rehab clinic. And so the party, the DJ is always a bit of a trigger. And often when we swarm together, they kind of go through this process. They're first like, oh no, I shouldn't. And then often they're like, wow, it was actually quite fun. But there's also the other side that some people are like, yeah, saying like, oh, dancing is not for me. I don't know how I feel about this. Yeah, and one last quote that I would like to share is from this client. He said, freedom, a feeling of happiness and a constant desire to laugh. My body moves automatically and movements follow one another. Through music and movement, I have connected with people who normally pass me by. There were moments that were comparable to a runner's high. Everything comes together then. By being able to move freely in space, alone, being deliriously happy. It's nice because we just had the other talks that I'm thinking about the theme of freedom that was coming back and creating a relational space that was Brechtje was talking about, how in these quotes kind of like things start to appear. So in the meantime, I work at the University of Humanistic Studies as a teacher, and I start to talk about swarming, and then slowly this idea appeared to do a PhD project on this swarming. So as part of the care ethics group, where a lot of artistic research is happening, we formulated a research question on swarming, which is, how does swarming function as an artistic participatory practice, and how can it be positioned as an emancipatory and innovative mode of spiritual care within psychiatry? And here you also hear that the aim is to position swarming in psychiatry, not just in the clinical setting, but also in psychiatry as a field of research. So I will tell something about the key concepts in the research. And the first thing is a question that comes more often, like, is it spiritual care? Like some of my colleagues sometimes say, oh, it's sports, or oh, it's mindfulness, or like, what is it? And what I found is, what Maitra states is that group dance can bring a sense of rhythm, belonging, and dignity for embodied integration. But it can also bring personal healing, communal connection, environmental care, and ritualistic synchrony. This is something we also know from, for example, many religious traditions like Sufi, who use long-term rhythmic alignments to gain a spiritual mindset together. And you might also think, why are we looking at a cat? Because this was about birds. When we swarm on the terrain, we often have funny encounters with other animals. So once there was this cat, and he was just following us while we were swarming, and he just stayed on this distance. And every time we looked at him, he was pretending as if he was. Then he moved on, and then he joined again. And this, like, interaction with other animals or other people is always a really nice part of it. And yeah, you also see here what Foster says, that it could be seen as a multi-species ritual. Yeah, another concept which makes sense also to mention here, also in a hospital, that it has like dance movement therapy has like clear benefits for health, like neurological benefits for serotonin, physical benefits for example, improved say motor movement, motor function, and also clinical effects like reduced depression and social and psychological benefits like reducing isolation. And it's interesting to think back of how it all started while the COVID pandemic happened. Yeah, I will share also something about a concept that was like part of the start of the swarm, that is queer phenomenology. And the work of Sarah Ahmed on this topic has helped us to understand the negotiation of which bodies can move freely in which spaces. This has an intersectional side to it. How you are allowed to be and how to move in this world is strongly determined by your positionality. And with swarming, we're kind of queering the clinical terrain by opening a space for moving that is not following the dominant narrative that is present in that place. I also started to dive in the history of like public dancing or history of dancing in the streets. And this work by Barbara Ehrenreich is really amazing because she presents like this huge study on how colonial, religious, fascist, militarist, and capitalist tendencies made people stop dancing in the streets. And also some of these tendencies also made people dance in the street. But it's an interesting study how it's kind of declined. And it's interesting because she kind of states that depression grows when people stop dancing in the streets, even though she's not really able to actually make that statement. But I was curious, maybe would you believe that statement if you think that the historical decline of dancing was the cause of the rise of depression? And I see some hands who would agree and who would not agree. Who would agree with this?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I thought I can imagine it's correlated.
Correlation. Yeah, there's a correlation. Yeah.
Not a causal relationship. Even if it's a correlated, it's probably not a causal relationship, I would guess.
Yeah, it's a good nuance.
In regimes where it's not that free,
Yeah.
They cannot dance and they cannot do any other stuff. And
yeah, I see. Yeah, there's more to it. Thank you. Yeah. It's an interesting statement that made me think. And lastly, I want to mention the key concept of kinesthetic empathy. And Christine Leroy shows how observing people who are dancing can make us more human and more caring. He states that care is an interaction of moving bodies, and dance is here seen as a method of restoring the subject's desire and offers healing through kinesthetic redesign of the unconscious body image. And this improves ethical responsiveness to others. Okay, I think I'm kind of running out of time, so I'll just, to wrap it up, say shortly something about the research design. So we are working with a participatory arts-based research design, and that is we're mostly doing this because the background of med studies and feminist care ethics is chosen to make the clients co-researchers in each phase of the project. Okay, I'll just leave it to that. So here you see us last week. We did a swarm, and you see me with the core team of the clients, and we a lot of the speakers, and we were very happy because it was a really nice swarm. And here you also see the phases of the research project through a participatory art-based design. That was it. Just summary of the method. So we will do more swarmings in the upcoming years, and we have feedback sessions with the swarm core team, which is part of the researchers and part of the clients, and we use artistic methods to do the data collection, and also autoethnography as a method. Yeah. Any questions?